Hey there. Welcome to the Pine Island Experience podcast. I'm Joanna Anderson with my husband, Trygve. Each of our episodes will be conversations with fellow Pine Islanders.
The goal of our podcast is to share with you our experiences, what we have found to be fun, and what makes the Pine Island experience so unique.
Being a part of the community and, it's such a reward when you bake something and someone trusted you just out of your house to eat something. And then you become a part of their weekly routine. You become part of, they plan. They're like, oh, on Wednesday, we're going to get our breads and or Saturday is cinnamon rolls. So it's just, people trust you and then you trust them. And it's just, food brings us together. That's the one thing I love about the industry that I'm in.
That was Tristan Carter, owner of the Proper Palm Cottage Bakery, thanking the community for welcoming him with such enthusiasm. Tristan first came to Pine Island with a dream to build a life here and create something special that would fit the spirit of the island. After exploring a few ideas, he decided to share his talents through a cottage bakery. When his very first online menu dropped, the island responded immediately, and the orders came pouring in. And now, here's Tristan. We have a great show today. Tristan from the Proper Palm Cottage Bakery in Bokeelia has joined us. I know all about your goodies because Joanne Lembo up the street, my friend and neighbor, brought over the best, yummiest treats ever. And we had to have you. So thanks for responding to us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And like I said, Joanne's my rock star. So, I love to send things out for everyone to taste. So I'm glad you all got to taste it, enjoyed it, and be here in your home and to talk about what's going on here,
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, where you went to school, up to how you found Pine Island.
Absolutely. So I grew up in South Georgia, just that little Georgia bend at the very bottom, very Georgia, Florida line. So a little bit of the coastal environment like we have here. But a lot of that's what got me into food, being around, grandma, mom, your Nana, everyone's Southern food, Southern hospitality. So it was always a way of connecting. So that's where food came in early on. Grew up there and then moved to Atlanta when I was in high school. Right away after I finished high school, I went to the Culinary Institute of America up in Hyde Park, New York. So beautiful area up there, Hudson Valley area. And just dived into the culinary world and, had different roles, went through Orlando apprenticeship, did Disney college program, culinary there, then Marriott hotels. And then everyone always asks, how did you find Pine Island? And of all places. And so my in-laws used to live over here in Pine Island Cove before the hurricane, before Ian. And we used to visit when I lived in Orlando. We would come over on the weekends sometimes and just fell in love with it. It was a completely different place like anywhere else in Florida. As soon as we had a moment, to go remote and I was kind of shifting what I wanted to do in life, we found a beautiful home here on Pine Island and moved, all impulsively. And it all just landed, and I got here and I loved all the local businesses, everyone. I was like, what could I do here that contributes? What could I do that grounds me here on this island? And culinary, I started looking and I was like, oh, a restaurant, this and that. And then I decided to take that first step and do a cottage bakery. Just, warm, foods that are old recipes. It's not something you can go to a grocery store and get. And it just gives people that nostalgia of, something blue, something borrowed kind of feeling.
So for those that don't know, how does a cottage bakery differentiate from a bakery per se?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a cottage bakery, most states here in the United States and Florida, we allow it. It's not inspected by the health department. What it is it allows you to sell shelf-stable foods that are shelf-stable up to 3 to 7 days, so like cakes, stuff like that. And it allows you to sell out of your home and register with the government, local authorities to sell cottage foods. It works really well here on the island. I get the question all the time, do you ever think, I thought at first, maybe 10 orders or something over a few weeks. People they're not going to trust somebody just selling out of their house because I've always lived in places like Atlanta where it's just HOAs, things aren't allowed. And it would not have been successful. I truly don't believe that if it wasn't here on this island. The culture here, everyone's just, open your door, come on in. People have a cup of coffee, they talk, and then they grab their bakery items and get to know you. So it's definitely a different experience than a normal bakery.
So I have to ask about the name because we're fans of British television, and Proper sounds very British. So where did the name come from? And is there any British influence, or was it just a cool name that worked?
It's kind of like I have many umbrellas under this. I love interior design. I've always loved that grand millennial blue chinoiserie look, something blue, something borrowed, your grandmother's house. And I always loved tropical, stuff like 1950s Florida, pastels, flamingos. And I was like, how can I make it a little masculine in a way? And I thought about the British term proper, and not in the proper of it's, exclusive, but just it's done beautifully. So that's where the name Proper Palm came from.
I always, probably improperly, I hear correct. I don't know that that's a fair one, but in my mind, when they say proper, I hear correct. So I just thought it was the correct palm cottage.
Yeah. Things done correctly. Yeah.
So from interest in culinary, did that include the baking? And then how did you decide to focus on, because there's obviously many kinds of foods and preparations. How did you get more interested in the baking side?
Yeah. So like I said, I always did culinary, and we focus on culinary arts, whichever degree you're focusing on. We focus on a few months on baking and pastry and breads. And we don't really get too much into confectionery if you're a culinary student, more the baking and pastries do. But I kind of picked up an interest for it during that time and, continued on through my career through culinary, but always loved baking and always loved the aspect of the science. Everything's measured versus, you just go with the flow with culinary. It could be fixed. You can't fix a lot of baking things. So it was just more of something, a challenge, I guess. I loved something new, and it was something that you had to follow the rules, but you kind of still could add your own little twist to it. And that's where that came into play. And then also being here on the island, what's accessible right now to connect with fellow islanders. And a cottage bakery was at the moment. It was something that I'm great at baking. I enjoy it. Love pouring my heart into it. And, the state allows me to do that, but I can't sell steak dinners or anything out of my house. But maybe one day we'll have a nice establishment where we can have a full menu. So, yeah.
So you enjoy the exacting requirements of measurements?
Yes. It's a challenge.
Basically, it's chemistry.
Yeah, it's chemistry. Like culinary, you can just throw your passion. I want to throw extra salt in here, extra sugar, or some cilantro. Baking and pastry, you can do that, but there's always a consequence at the end.
And that's what Trig always liked, was baking.
Mm-hmm.
Me not so much. You had to be accurate or it didn't work. Although bread, I like making bread, but it's hard.
Yes.
I don't know how you do it because.
Okay, she opened the door. So I'm sure you know what the meniscus is when you're measuring liquids.
Mm-hmm.
So when I still to this day, I will hold up a measuring cup and look at the meniscus to make sure that it's an accurate volume.
Yeah.
I've long since forgotten the science behind most of it, but I know that's still important for accuracy.
I'll have people ask me sometimes when they're helping me in the kitchen, they'll grab a regular measuring cup to put liquid in. And I'm like, absolutely not. That's not a volume measurement for that. But if it was culinary, getting back to that, it wouldn't matter. Right. You could fix it.
What was was there a pastry that you made that you said, this is it? Did you make something and it turned out and you said, hey, I really enjoyed it and it turned out well? Or was it just kind of a natural progression?
Natural progression. But one item here that I made that kind of really was okay, this, I want to do this here on the island when I created something. And it was a cake. I celebrated my 30th birthday when we moved here to the island. And I ordered a beautiful cake here from Pine Island Getaway Cafe. They made me a beautiful cake. It was a marzipan cake. And then I also had a surprise cake from Goldbelly, one of those small ones you can order, ship around the world. And it was JFK and Jackie Kennedy's, a model of their flavor profile they had for their wedding cake. And I fell in love with the simplicity of the flavors and the raspberry. But I loved here on Pine Island how we grow passion fruit and we have all these tropical fruits. And I really created this chantilly cake with that, with everything grown here on the island. That was my wow moment. It was everything's here to create these items. So like anything from the star fruit I grab from Pine Island, upside down cakes, to eggs being locally here on the island, honey, everything really is. We don't have cows, so I can't get my milk. So we do have to use for that purposes. But yeah, besides the flour and the milk, pretty much everything and sugar comes here from the island.
Let's talk about the presentation. I've been dying to ask you about that. It's gorgeous. So
Yeah.
I imagine presentation is very important to you.
The presentation coming into it, I kind of, having the cottage bakery, I really wanted to give you a little backstory here. Some of my experience when I was in food and beverage at Marriott was room service at Walt Disney World at Swan and Dolphin. And, when people order amenities to their rooms and stuff. And I kind of wanted that aspect to feel like that, but here on the island, because a lot of businesses, we cater towards the season with the tourists. I really just wanted to settle and, accommodate both, but the people who live here. It's just something beautiful. I wanted something that it is something you buy just to eat for breakfast, but it still has a beautiful moment to it. It's a pink box or a white box, but it has time. Something was taken to it, put a bow over it, and it just feels like you're enjoying something for yourself. And just a soft moment. That's all I wanted for it. So,
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
Thank you. That's probably sometimes the most time-consuming part of the baking is the packaging of the baked goods. Yeah.
Not the measuring.
Yeah.
Baking takes a lot of prep too, right? So,
Mhm.
I mean, something that tastes delicious, a good presentation. Talk a little bit about maybe some of the, work that it takes to be able to then produce something that looks that good and tastes that good.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the biggest items here that everyone's responded to is the challah bread and the scones. The scones, the way that works is they're typically, people enjoy them here on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Today, I will start prepping for the scones. Today's Monday. So, just prepping, chopping mangoes, seeing where I can get them. We can't get fresh mangoes right now, but, and it's hard to find good quality fruits for like mangoes and stuff like that. So I find that like today we'll go shopping and I'll look for our fruits, start chopping that up, and then I bulk the dough fermentation. So any bread that you order from Proper Palm, it's usually fermented for 2 to 3 days at most in the fridge for cold fermentation so that you get that more bready, yeasty flavor. Everything takes on average 2 to 3 days of prep. And everything is, I just know, Wednesdays I structure it. It's an evening delivery, so 6 to 7. So I have the whole day to bake that morning, starting Wednesday. But cinnamon rolls on Saturday morning. So I just take my little nap on Friday, do my prepping, and then I wake up at 1 a.m. and the cinnamon rolls are not baked until 15 minutes before they walk out the door. So that's just how I've timed it down to where it still gets warm to the other end of the island. So it is a whole science, a whole machine behind closed doors to keep it moving, but it's enjoyable. I love it.
Now, do you do the deliveries yourself?
I try to, but no, my husband, Steven, does all the deliveries. So we look a lot alike, so people get confused sometimes. But they've got to meet him too. So they'll text him like, hey, can I put an order for this in? So I'm like, they got your number now. So
That was sneaky.
It wouldn't be possible though to have somebody to support you. Like I couldn't be in St. James and Boquillion and in my kitchen at the same time to be able to do the delivery. So, it's definitely a household effort and it's made it completely possible.
Is everything delivery or
Yeah.
can people just drop in?
Everything is delivery. They only here on the island, and then Matt Lachey. We have a lot of people who, because they'll see on Facebook from Cape Coral, like a lot of all the way over to Burnt Store, they'll just message. And I have people now that we just meet them somewhere in Matt Lachey. I'll text them like, hey, I'm headed to Matt Lachey, and they'll meet me there 9, 10 in the morning or whatever. So we have a lot of people off the island too that are starting to want from businesses over here. So, but the most rewarding aspect was that first week when I did the drop and I was like, okay, it's quiet, waiting for it. I'm like, probably 2-3 orders. People are going to be like, what is this? And then it just started. And I had my other friend with me and she's in culinary and she works at a restaurant in Orlando. And she heard the phone just started going ting, ting, and then it started going off more. And then she's like, "You're giving me anxiety." And she's like, "This isn't set up for a kitchen yet." And I'm like, "The orders will go out in the morning. We will figure it out."
Oh, even if you stay up
Yeah.
all night.
But it was the best. It was rewarding. And like I said, like, it couldn't have happened anywhere else.
What's one of the more challenging things that you bake or produce for people?
Trying to understand the question. More challenging for here? Is that what you were asking?
Well, just like in terms of possibly your effort, or maybe I know like like a caramel sauce or something like that, where you have to get it to a particular temperature.
Yeah.
And if you go too far, it gets too solid if you don't get it far. So just something in the production process where, not that you don't apply care to everything that you're doing, but is there anything that where
challenging,
you're like a little extra challenging to get it produced?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I've had a few cakes that are more on that softer, firm of the buttercream, and they're 2-tier, and it's challenging to get that to St. James City from Vokelia. So that's one of those things where we're learning with it, and fridge space really helps. Keeping a cake really cold before it goes out. But when you have a normal size fridge, that's kind of difficult to do. So it's keeping it assembled in different levels and assembling it once it gets there. But the most challenging aspect, I would say, is just temperatures, getting stuff from a delivery standpoint, because it's most cottage bakeries or bakeries you're picking up, and we're delivering it to people's homes. So, the challenging part, I guess, is running it like I would a restaurant. Like, I want hot food to them. I don't want them to have to reheat the food. So,
Sounds nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning.
It's nerve-wracking, but it's also exciting once you're like, "Oh, that worked. Or this works." Or you could order this product to make this work. Like, a little insider here, like the way my brain works is they all come in pink bags. Well, I found a supplier now that has an aluminum coating inside the bag that keeps it warm. So those will be coming in now to keep the cinnamon rolls warm. So I know those warm items can go in there, and we can get those to the other end of the island. And it's just like it came out the oven.
That just sounds like heaven, getting warm cinnamon rolls.
Yes.
Delivered to you on Pine Island.
Does the island environment present any challenges, like with letting dough rise and those kinds of things? Because sometimes, as you know, that it'll be very, very hot here. How do you work through that? Because we can, as like we did this one, we had 4 weeks of very cold weather, and then you'll come up to very hot weather. So how do you because that needs to be, if memory serves, that needs to be a somewhat constant temperature.
Yeah, constant temp. And, like we did have that weather here for a while that was really cold. And what I have is a rack set up, and I have the Benetton bowls that I rise my bread in. They have the linen cover over them. And I normally would sit them on the screen and patio, let the sun, the heat from outside and humidity rise it. But with the cold weather, that wasn't possible. If it kind of drops below that 78 degrees, it's really not doing anything for your bread out there. So I found a little trick where I just turn my oven on for a minute, let it get a little warm, and I turn it off, and I throw a bowl of hot water in the bottom, and it creates a humid environment. And it's just working around challenges here and just finding what you can utilize what you have. And you have a proofing box now to proof your bread.
Good find for you to do that. Yeah, that's scary if you can't get the bread to rise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And chocolates too. Like, it was around, I want to say Valentine's, and it was right before I was doing chocolate truffles. It was a really warm day, even in the house. In a commercial kitchen, you're used to a refrigerated marble slab that's keeping this chocolate cold for you. So that was a complete fail. That did not make it to the menu, the truffles. It was too hot of a day.
How would you say the islands responded to the bakery? I know your first day, it was phenomenal. How's it been?
No, there's amazing. Moments I'm like, is this real? I even when I have friends visit, they've been here for bakery days, and it's just a whole new experience for other people too. It's just having people just welcome me into your home. Pine Island, I feel like in a way, everywhere I've lived, there's always been like a downtown square, somewhere you could go and just see people that, like a community. And we don't really have that area unless it's like Matlacha or something. But I feel like when you create a business, I've created my own little community. I've met people. I didn't know many people when I moved here, but you start connecting with people and you welcome them into your home, and you drive around town on this island. You're just like, oh, I know so and so. She likes this or he likes this. So it's rewarding, and definitely makes you feel more grounded at home here.
You have items that have been, for lack of a better phrase, become favorites, or like if I make this, I know I'm going to sell out. Kind of popularity, if nothing else.
The Bokelia coconut mango scones, that one sells out right away, and usually any of the scone flavors. I think it's because it's not something common you can find a lot of places here, and those sell out right away. Another item is, if you catch it, is the cinnamon rolls. Those do as well, and I do have to put quantities on things because we are dealing with a regular kitchen. But those two items sell the most. And then I would say any time that I put something on the menu where I'm slicing the cake and then get multiple slices of cake in a little quartet box, that immediately is out the door.
What smells the best coming out of the oven?
Bread. You can put as many cakes in the oven and it's always just going to smell like sugar and vanilla, but there's something about bread in the oven that aroma. It kind of has a pretzely smell. The best.
Do you have any future plans? You said maybe you'll
so
open a store or a storefront, or
that's one of the biggest things right now. It's always been the goal. I wanted to place a home for the Proper Palm, and I would really like, obviously to be here on the island, but I want it to be a cottage. I want to look for like an older home that can be turned into a cottage bakery, and maybe like a small rotating menu where it's a bakery throughout the day, and then we close at 3, but then we reopen at 5:30 for dinner, and that's chef's tasting menu, or it's like a menu that's seasonal, what we have here on the island. And that's the way of kind of having two businesses that accommodate two different clienteles at the same time, and having a little storefront where you can get a nice coffee and just kind of walk in, that bed and breakfast vibe kind of. That's the ultimate goal here for the island.
Handle menu selection? Is it what you feel like? Is it also a combination of what's available? You mentioned if there's fresh food that may maybe drive the scone flavors, but do you rotate by default, or is it just, because I know some chefs will be like, I feel like making this today, kind of thing.
It's a combination of both. I would say I would have a feeling like, I want to make, so like right now, I'm like, I want to make bagels. They're not on the menu yet. So they may be coming to the menu soon. I want to do bagels, but you notice I work with a lot of fruits or fruit flavors. So it will be just like what fruits are around here on the island that I could use, or that's seasonal, that fits the vibe. And that's how I kind of incorporate those together. And then sometimes it's just a bagel or it's just bread. I truly try to use what's in season. So if you looked at the menu lately, it's always been strawberries. Because to me, it's the only time of year the strawberries taste good. It's when they're coming from Florida and they're local. And then it'll switch, and then we'll have blueberry season, and then we'll start getting more blueberries. So I try to keep it within season. Even though you can access fruit any time of the year, it just tastes different when it's actually local.
How would you distinguish your baked goods from, the mass-produced ones?
Mass-produced ones, I would say the ingredients, they do have to put in a lot more ingredients to be able to make them shelf-stable. Because let's say, for example, you buy cinnamon rolls at the grocery store. They were baked at the grocery store, but the ingredients in that flour, it's bleached flour and rich flours. It's all these gums and stuff that are added to make the shelf life longer. So it's one thing that people taste the difference in is just going back to the simplicity. It's not healthy for you by no means. It's sugar and flour, but there's 6 ingredients versus 200 ingredients. And you taste the difference. Another thing is, I would say, is the Southern hospitality added to it. Everything. I went through 32 pounds of butter last week. Out of my kitchen, 32 pounds of butter between Wednesday and Saturday. So butter, just like we learned in school, is the key to everything tasting.
You're making a lot of people very happy.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I would say it's just that it's made in small batch too. So everything is actually touched. You've seen it, you know what it is. And it's just like something that you would get from your mom's friend or your grandmother's friend, or your grandmother brings you over something. It's something that was homemade. So it does taste different.
If people are interested in getting your baked goods, what's the process there? What do they do? How do they get a hold of you? How do they find out what's being offered, et cetera?
That's a great question. So they can order, I have a website. It's they go to theproperpalm.com. It's a little bit more organized now because then you just click the cottage bakery and it takes them right to my ordering website. It's called Hot Plate. The wording of it is don't miss a drop. And they just enter their number in if they would like to do so. And they'll get a text letting them know, like, I just dropped something. And then they can access the menu and order. And all they do is just put their address in there or click pick up. And then we'll confirm it with them. And then it's delivered to their home. And that's how they order. And they can keep track and see how on their end, they can see like, oh, there's 2 cinnamon rolls left. Or they will know, like, you know. So it's really a good way to interact and referral based too. A lot of people, you know, they love to text somebody like, try this out, and then they get referral points as well. So it's works that way. But the easiest way to find us is theproperpalm.com. Now that we have that domain, and you can click right there and order, or the contact button if you want to get in contact with us.
And your pictures are beautiful, so they can see things that will be dropping,
yes,
you know, and what they look like. And I use the lanai when I can. That's the only way. I mean, it's very hard. I did try the oven with the water. My sister had told me that. She tried that, but that's a little harder, you know. But it always works outside on the lanai.
Yeah. Like last night, I was making dinner for us, and that's a lot of times when I'm cooking for myself, I'm trying out new breads or stuff on the side. So last night, I had the pineapple rolls that were on the menu, but I wanted a little bit more of a whole grain, you know, nutty, earthy flavor. So I started incorporating with rye flours and different flours and made these beautiful pineapple rolls last night. And it was beautiful and warm out yesterday evening. So it just sat on the table and rose with the sunset. So something about just sitting it outside and letting it rise is the best way for the bread. Yeah.
Anything else that you want to bring up about yourself or the business that we haven't asked you so far?
Yeah. Just want to take that moment again and say thank you to everyone here on the island. Thank you both. Thank you to people just saying like, oh, we're just going to buy baked goods out of someone's house in Bokeelia, you know what I mean? So, no, it's been so rewarding, and, you know, just being a part of the community, and, you know, such a reward when you bake something and someone trusted you just out of your house to eat something, and then you become a part of their weekly routine. You become part of, they plan. They're like, oh, on Wednesday, we're going to get our breads, and or Saturday is cinnamon rolls. So it's just, people trust you, and then you trust them. And it's just, food brings us together. That's the one thing I love about the industry that I'm in.
And you give them a gift of delivering it.
Oh
my goodness. They're still in their bathrobes getting those cinnamon rolls in the morning.
The one thing that I missed about Atlanta was access to deliveries to anything. You know, you're sitting on the couch and you're like, I want crumble cookie, or I want a cinnamon roll or something. You could order it. But, you know, we have island life here, so it's perfect. It kind of just works. And at first I thought I was crazy. I was like, okay, free delivery. Like, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm like, it's just an island. It's all right here. So it's fun.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
You.
I wanted to meet you. I'm glad we did.
Thank you.
Fascinating.
Thank you. Like I said, reaching out, like, who is this person selling these baked goods?
We hope you enjoyed our Pine Island Experience podcast. If you have any ideas for us, people to interview, or any comments, please feel free to email them to us at pineislandexperience@gmail.com. That's pineislandexperience, all one word, @gmail.com. Don't forget to like us, and you may subscribe to this podcast using all the major catchers like Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Thanks again for listening, and remember, island life is a constant vacation. We'll see you on the next podcast.